So the stock market was green, so everything must be good, right? Well, not so fast. We also know that the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, these rates dropped just a little, which again means it's time to go and buy a house, right? Well, again, not so fast. The truth is that most people have no clue what is about to happen. Now, there is some good news out there, and that is that crude oil has fallen to below $70 a barrel for the first time since 2021. The only problem here is that it fell because investors are a little worried about last week's bank failures. So again, a major problem. But that's not the only problem. We also know there are some issues regarding the debt ceiling here in the United States, but we have some good news. According to the U.S. Treasury, they say that the FDIC cash draw won't affect the debt ceiling X date. Again, that is good news because the debt ceiling is one of the biggest fights amongst lawmakers at this time. But we also have more good news as well. Now, another piece of good news for me, today is March 15th, 2023, and for most people, this date has really no significance. However, for me it does. Today is my 15th wedding anniversary with my wife, so today is a special day for me. But let's get to some of the news that could affect you and your finances, because that's what we're all here for. Now, here's what I can tell you. The other day, the CPI report came out, and it showed that egg prices fell 7% last month. Again, that is good news, as a dozen eggs averaged $4.21, as opposed to the previous month where a dozen eggs averaged $4.82. Again, things are starting to change though. Here's what we now know. In just a few short weeks, it will be April. And on April 9th, 2023, it will be Easter. Because of the demand in eggs, we are going to see another shortage, according to experts, which will ultimately lead to egg prices going back up. So what we are now hearing is that we need to get our eggs at a discount while we can, because these prices will be short-lived. Now, prices are not going to stop there. Here's something else we learned just this morning, is that retail numbers for February came out and they fell by 0.4%. Now, this just shows that consumers are slowing down their spending, which we all knew would happen eventually, but according to experts, it's not because they are getting tired of higher prices, it's because we are running out of money or specifically credit. That's a problem. Let me ask you this. You can answer this in the comment section below. Do you use credit cards? Do you spend on credit? If you do, what are you buying? I'm just curious, because for most people, they are buying the essentials. This is food, okay? They're putting fuel in their vehicles. Some are using credit cards to pay for things like insurance, right? They are taking cash out of their credit cards, which again, you will pay a higher rate, but that is the world that we live in. Some people would gladly pay a higher rate to be able to get the medications that they need, be able to go and pay some of their rent. Again, these are important expenses. What we know is that households have been under an extreme amount of pressure with high inflation lately. We went from 6.4% inflation, we are now down to 6%. But economists say this is still too high, and there's a worry that we may go back up. But you're probably wondering, why would inflation go back up? Well, this is the reason why. Experts are worried that the Federal Reserve is going to pause on their interest rate hikes simply because of the potential banking disaster. So, if the Federal Reserve decides to pause any rate hikes, that could actually cause inflation to go back up. Again, that would be short-lived, but we could see it. Now, not only are consumers struggling to keep up with the cost of essentials, they're also struggling to keep up with rent and their mortgage. According to a recent report, more than 50% of Americans cannot afford their rent. However, renters continue to make their payments as they utilize available credit on their credit cards. However, one financial expert says that this is not going to last long. As Americans spend more money on credit cards, it won't take long before they max them out. And with the Federal Reserve continuing to raise rates, this debt will only get more expensive. But again, most people have no clue what is about to happen. Because what happens when you can't afford your rent, or food, medication, or even utilities? What happens when you have credit cards that are maxed out? What do you do then? Well, I actually asked a handful of people, and I got 2 responses. Here's what these 2 people had to say. One person said, and I quote, "It's scary that you asked me this because this is how I've been getting by. But if I didn't have a credit card to help get me through this, then I would have to sell my car. Other than my car, I own nothing of value. That is why I'm hoping that we get things back to the way they were a few years ago." And I completely understand this. A few years ago, right, when we were going through the whole virus situation, the issues weren't inflation. The issues were working. As long as you can work, you're making money. Guess what? You could put money in the stock market and your money would likely go up. You'd probably double your money, if not more. Put money into real estate, same thing. You could buy a car, which is very inexpensive, and guess what? Everything went up. It was just very expensive to get it now. Why? Well, inflation. Another person had this to say, and I quote, "I would have to go and live with my parents if that happened. I'm working a full 40 hours each week, but it still is not enough. I got a raise of $1.75 an hour at the beginning of the year, but again, it's still not enough. My boss said that our company will experience layoffs in the 3rd quarter of this year, so I don't know if I'm going to be on the chopping block or not. He won't say, but it's scary to think about." That is a tough one, because when and I worked for a place right out of high school where we were going to experience layoffs, and everybody knew it. But what we didn't know was who was going to be laid off. I was not one of those people. I was one of the newer employees, and I was one of the ones making the least amount of money. So what the business did, what the company did, they laid off people that were either close to retirement, laid off people that were making an insane amount of money, more than the newer hires, 4 to 5 times what the new hires were even getting. But again, the truth is that most people have no clue what is about to happen. And it's because of this that I am worried. A lot of people keep on spending money. They keep spending money like they have an unlimited amount. But that's what is scary, is you may think you have an unlimited amount of money, but the truth is, as costs keep rising and as your job could potentially be at risk, you want to save more money than you're spending. And if you're not doing that, and I completely understand most people cannot afford to do that, but if you're not saving as much as possible, then you could be in a world of hurt very soon. So, as soon as I know more information about what is going on and how it could potentially affect you and your finances, I will come back and I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.